to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. I'm happy that you're joining us this week. So as we jump in, the deal is we hear that word change. I know, oh, change. Oh my God. Well, change is inevitable. So let's figure out how to deal with it. I guess that's my first bit of wisdom there. So in the show notes, you'll find my communication style assessment. No matter where you're navigating change, trust me, it all boils down to how you communicate through that change to make it easier or harder. And my guest today in our conversation, your communication style will definitely impact our topic for today. So in the show notes, you take my quiz, 2 reports. First one, what are your natural communication superpowers? You should know that so you can leverage it, lean into it, and of course, build on it. Your lowest score, that's where the magic happens because that's typically a blind spot. So by reading that report, you could start to evaluate or discern when you're speaking with people who communicate 180 degrees differently than you. How do you need to modify and shift? So today's topic, this is going to be exponentially important. Link is in the show notes, and that is my gift to you. So my quote today is by Dr. Ray Doktor, and he says, life is the teacher, love is the medicine, and you have to start with loving yourself. So today, my guests and I, we're going to have a really cool conversation, a little bit different than what we usually talk about on the show. But he wrote a book. It's called How to Get Great Dating Outcomes in the Modern World. So new year, new us, right? This show is being recorded in January of 2025. So welcome, my people in the future. So new year, new you. And if you're looking for love, maybe my guest has some insights and tips to help you find the life you're living or define the life you're living and enjoy it with someone else. So who is this amazing guest? His name is Glenn Sandifer. Glenn has over 20 years of experience in regional and national field sales and marketing roles. Currently, he has the privilege of leading a world-class inside sales and client success group within the security industry. Glenn is focused on developing inside sales and customer success teams. I cannot say that word today. And developing an outbound contact strategy. Glenn also founded Glenn Sandifer Consulting, which aims to aid smaller security dealers in developing winning programs and plans for predictable revenue and long-term success. So yeah, man, he's a sales dude, but so much more. Glenn, thanks for being on. And this is actually the second time you're on the show.
Second time on the show, and happy New
Yay.
Year, everyone. We're so happy.
Yeah. Yippee-ki-yay, right? All right. So this is interesting because you're a sales guru, right? You're one of my peeps out there, but you also get the whole dating thing, right? Because we're human. We are one person. We are human. So of course, my first question, Glenn, is what inspired you to write How to Get Great Dating Outcomes in the Modern World? Like, where did that originate?
Let's talk about the why of the origination. So the why of the origination, I found myself being invited to speak locally in my hometown of Indianapolis and at several conferences. Everyone that presented, whether they were on a panel or they were on main stage, they had a book. They had a sales book, a marketing book, some version of the book. And I said, you know what would be cool if someone that was on stage sold a relationship book. So I started writing, and this was early 2010s, a version of a book that no one will ever see. And I said, I don't like it. And then I went back and said, let's just do sales playbooks. So I put together a couple of different sales playbooks and different iterations of books. Didn't like them either. And so then fast forward 2014, I meet my now wife. And in that courtship, I realized that the rules of dating was different from when I was dating, which was the 90s and the early 2000s, the first time around. And so I said, all right, things are a little different. And so I started to put into practice the principles that are now in the book of how to get great dating outcomes in a modern world, which was I had to know who I was, what I want, what I qualify for, and know with whom I qualify for what they want from me. So no longer could I just say, I want a traditional woman that's going to stay home and give me 4 kids. That ain't the modern world. You'd be blessed if you had that, but most men I know are stressed when they do that. So if you find yourself in a modern world and you're not getting the outcome that you want, the issue is you. My issue was I wasn't getting the dating outcome I wanted. I met my wife and I could not use the same techniques for bad dating to get her. And so I went on a reflection journey post, uh, breakup with another person. And from that came additional principles. And so what I did was I cobbled the principles from that healing, the principles from the dating, and I put it together. Now, couple that with my 20-year experience. I found that in every coaching session and every one-on-one as an employee with employees or as a consultant, it inevitably got back to relationships. We always like, hey, how's things going with the wife? Whoa. Hey, how's things going in your dating life? You're going to bring someone to the party? No, I haven't had a date in 3 years. Whoa. And so what I found as the final piece was that the more success people were having professionally, the worse their dating outcomes. And the reason was because they were completely misaligned with the person they needed to be. We talk about archetypes in our book. We found that modern women were dating males. We found that females were dating city boys. And we found that the people who were the most successful were modern men, modern women, and traditional men and traditional women. So we talk about the six archetypes being city boy, city girl, male, female, guy, dude, or gal, modern woman, traditional woman, or high value woman. And what we find is that when people are paired with the right person, regardless of their level, they have a better dating outcome. And then we say at TMG, once we go over the line of manhood and womanhood, modern men, traditional men, high value men are the ones that deserve and qualify for an excellent and great dating outcome, which ultimately leads to marriage, children, legacy as a result.
It's interesting as you were describing that, right? Your experience in sales definitely impacted that perspective, because in selling, right, it is like dating in so many regards, because you have to get to know the person, you have to shut your mouth and listen, right, get to know them, hear them out, what is their perspective, and as soon as we can dial into that, we're able to help. Well, it's the same thing with dating and marriage. Right now you're married and kids and all of that stuff. It's listening, it's compromise, it's negotiation, it's tolerance, all the things in business, right? So there's a lot of transferable skills there. But I love the archetypes and how you name them. Fun, but you're a fun guy, so that doesn't really surprise me. So, all right, the people who have read the book, what's their feedback to you? I'm so curious.
The people who have read part one, we'll start there. The people who have read part one, chapter one says, how did we get here? Everyone agrees that's how we got here. There were changes that happened in Western society, specifically the US, with policy that made it more advantageous for people to be separate than to be together as a traditional sense. And the time changed around 1954, 1955, and it took root in the 1960s. And so you had multiple generations in this example, 10-year periods that one saw the change happening, one wanted the change happening, and then the next was the result and the children and the second group of children. And there were worse relationship outcomes. We saw divorce spike in the United States in the 1970s and really peak out with the prosperity of the 1980s. So we saw that women who had entered the workforce in the 80s or the late 70s and who started to get promotions and get raises felt that the man who couldn't keep a job at the factory or keep a job in retail was not good enough anymore. Divorces happened, homes were broken, and we now have children who are the result in their 40s and 50s who are living that truth and trying to work through that.
Sure.
And so when you have that, everybody agrees with chapter one. They're like, yep, that's what happened. That's what happened to me. That's what happened to my sister. That's what happened to my brother. When we go to chapter two, because I believe in dealing with men first. Anytime I've coached or consulted in the past, I have always started with men because one, I'm a man, and then two, because of what I believe as a Christian, I believe in headship and leadership. I want to deal with men first because if I deal with men, the wise women and then the children will be taken care of. And so I say, men, you are a boy trying to be a man. And it's called, the chapter is called Boys to Men. So chapter two, the ladies love it. Yes, I'm dealing with a little boy. Yes, I'm dealing with a city boy, but I love a city boy. The city boy has the three C's. He has charisma, he has conversation, and he makes me feel so comfortable. Three C's. And You end up, mealing or dating and semi-dating or situationship with the city boy for a year, 2 years, and God forbid you have a baby with them. Now you have this outcome. And so now your dating outcomes are going to be the result of those choices. And then we see that there's a lot of talk and commentary around high value and tradition that I've seen in the relationship space since around 2018. We don't subscribe to that. We don't believe in what's called red pill or blue pill. We believe in vitamins. So we believe that people need to take their vitamin, and the TMG book series offers that. And we say that high value is less than 10% of any market. And we say high value women are less than 5% of the market. Why is that? Because they're rare and precious. And a high
Mhm.
value man is competing against other high value men to get a high value woman. They're not competing for the rest. They're not interested in traditional. They're not interested in modern, because high value, which everyone believes they are and believes is the standard, requires you to have discipline and be 100% dialed into purpose and long-term legacy as a result. And modern men and modern women want that, but they don't want to do the work. High value women say, I see a man who is high value. He's been doing this well for the last decade. He's been making good money, high character, high regard, community involvement, family oriented. I need to work with him. I'm going to do everything to help you reach your purpose. What do you need me to do? You need me to work? I'll work. You need me to stay home with the kids? I'll stay home with the kids. But I need you driving. I need you growing the business from 500,000 to a million to five to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 500, and we sell. If that's the plan, you have to treat me as such. And those high value men give their high value women all of their rewards on the back end for that. So, ladies love that. Then when we go to chapter 3, when we talk about girls to high value women, they hate that. The women hate that chapter. The guys love it, but it doesn't have a tone of what I say is in the red and blue pill space of where it's bashing women. It's just using data, just like we would do in sales or if we're running a
Sure.
business, to make an informed decision. And because it's women, it's a little bit more detailed. We talk a little bit about girls. We remove them from the equation because, like my kids, which are a boy and a girl, they are not qualified for anything because they don't have the emotional or physical capacity. There are some people that are boys and girls that you guys are dealing with, which don't have the capacity. So why are you playing with them? They're interested in adolescent pursuits. So then we talked about this, city boy, or what is called the F boy. The ladies love to talk about the F boy, but they don't like the fact that they are city. There is a culture that is permeating that is not based on any one race or socioeconomic path, which I call the city culture. It's the city girl culture where it's all about the look, the flash, the money, the bag, and it doesn't take into consideration anything long term or sustaining or a
Mhm.
connection. And so it glorifies the things that our grandparents, your parents, my great grandparents would never allow. And so with that, there becomes a dating outcome and a cycle that's very hard to break. So then we tell the women, stop being city, and then here are different versions of city. And then we talk about gals and chicks, which are just like dudes, nondescript people. These are the people that most ladies, they work with this guy. Men, you work with this girl. She's sort of kind of cute, sort of kind of nice, really easy to get along. You think that it may work, and there's just nothing that's spectacular or nothing that's extraordinary. It's just a regular relationship. Guys and gals have really good long-term relationships. They meet in high school and college, they stay together. Nothing really comes out of it. And then you have what I call the largest group, male and female. Now the males, everyone, yes, I understand. Yes, I got a male, because males look like a man, talk like a man, sound like a man, believe that they think like a man, but don't have men results. They cannot look at the market, develop a skill, apply that skill to extract profit with integrity. That's what men can do. Males are always a phone call, a networking meeting, a program, a check, an investment away from being able to contribute. And so a lot of females are dealing with males and they have babies by these men, and then they raise the next generation of males. Men who cannot make a decision. Women love that. They don't like the female side. The female side is basically a discussion around similar to a male, but you're a female, but you expect everyone to accommodate your emotional trauma. You have done no healing emotionally. So everything that happened in high school, everything that happened in college, everything that happened with your mama and your daddy, we all have to tiptoe around in
Oh,
order to make you feel good. That's why males and females stick together in these situationships and they're just both miserable. And so
ugh.
then when you draw the line and you say males, females, gals, and guys, city, and then boys and girls don't qualify for a relationship. Because for what I just described, ladies and gentlemen, who wants to deal with that? No one. So then we go back over the line. Everyone loves these three. So we start with modern, which is the second largest group. Modern, by definition, is 50-50. Based on what we know in chapter one of how we got here, I don't believe we're ever going to go back to a time where we have tradition as the main ingredient or the main archetype for a relationship. I believe tradition will be less than 15% of any market
Hmm.
because it's hard to have a traditional relationship as it stands from the 1955 definition, as I like to call it.
Sure.
But modern is easy because it's 50-50. But the problem with modern is everything is a negotiation. Everything is up for discussion. Everything is a conversation. And
Mm.
so even something as simple as where are we going to vacation becomes someone pulls out spreadsheets or someone talks about what they want. Someone's doing that. And then let's go to the more practical, which every man or woman who's modern, and if you don't identify, you need to just pick one. And then you call somebody and they'll tell you the truth. When it comes to the regular stuff, ladies, and they all like this part because they're like, I feel seen. When it comes to the hard stuff, it gets procrastinated and passed off, and it becomes a part of the negotiation. And let me just give you an example. If a woman is a doctor and she has a kid, she wants to get back to work. So now childcare is hard. All
Mm.
right, I didn't pick the nanny. I didn't pick the school. We didn't get signed up for the list because I was busy at work. I need you to go figure it out. So you have modern men who are upset that they're always having things passed off to them
Mm.
after procrastination. To the flip side of that, you have women who believe we're 50-50, but I only want to pay 75%. 75% needs to stay with me, 25% I'll contribute to the house. So a man who is modern, who's making $150,000 a year, and meets a woman who's making $100,000 a year, she believes she has 250,000. He says, I have 150 for my portion. She has 100 for hers. She don't look at it that way. It's not split. This is all our money. And, what I need to keep for me, I'm going to keep. And then for more practical as we nail it down and drill it down, modern men and women have to split all of the household chores, all of the responsibility. So that's why you have a generation of men and women who are just perpetually exhausted because they're splitting and sharing everything and no one owns anything. And then they're wondering why they're getting the result that they're getting. So, with all of that, I'll stop there for the audience to take more questions and I'll take a question from you. But when you stop there, you have to realize who the first question is, who am I? And then the second question is, what do I want? If I am a modern man and I want a traditional woman, I don't qualify because I can't go to a traditional woman talking 50-50 bills. She's going to say, I'm not dealing with any bills. I'm staying home, going to take care of the house. I'm going to raise our kids. I don't want them to go to public school. I want them to go to private school. You need to go figure out $350,000 a year. And then she turns her chair and she goes back to whatever she's doing for the household. If I am a male, I don't qualify for a modern woman because modern women need men. They don't deal with what the market is saying, little boys. They don't deal with males. They can't deal with someone because they're successful and things are going well with them financially and professionally. Deal with someone who was in constant struggle there. So I know who I am. I know what I want. Now I know as a modern man, I qualify for a modern woman. I know as a traditional man, I qualify for a traditional woman. I know as a male, at best, I'm going to get a female. If I don't want that as a result, because I know what a female is going to require,
Yep.
I am going to say, oh, that female, she requires emotional. I got to tiptoe. I have to be more emotionally intelligent than I would want to be. I'm not dealing with that. Hey, let's
Yep.
have dinner. Let's have lunch. Let's go. And so, with those four principles, you're able to kind of cut through with whatever's going through in your personal life, whatever's going through professionally with you. You should know that you should be aligned with the right person to get the best outcome.
So fascinating. And
Hmm.
in our last show, I think we talked about psychology a little bit, right? Psychology and
Hmm.
sales, but psychology is real for humans,
Hmm.
man, because
It
that's where
is.
we're playing. That's where our mind goes. That's where emotions go. What we're taught, we duplicate all of these things. What are the two top lessons, based on all of that? Let's kind of drill in a little bit. What are the top
Hmm.
two lessons that you would like your audience to take away from this book? Understanding all of that foundational information. Can you give us two?
I mean, the first thing is that 100% your dating outcome is in your control. We too
Mm,
we too often believe that things are out of our control that are in our
mm,
control. That
yeah,
goes for Christians, that goes for other believers.
yeah,
We blame God, we blame the devil for
yeah,
or the
yeah,
society or the economy for everything when you've been gifted one of the greatest opportunities in the world to be born now. And so with that, go make it happen. Go make it happen in your relationship outcome. It is 100% on you. If you're not getting people to call you back, young man, you're probably not that desirable. So go figure out what it is the market wants and deliver that to the market. The second thing would be is that as you're looking at the archetypes, the best takeaway can be your archetype that you identify with or it best suits you is not an insult. So some
yeah,
people who will say, I'm not a female. I know that I have these problems. I know that I have this trauma from my mother. I know that I deal with my past, but I just need someone to come in and appreciate and respect what I've been through. Okay, what does that appreciation and respect looks like? And then he goes back tiptoe around it. They're not going to tiptoe around it. So I'm going to need you to understand I am a female, and in order to get to modern status, I need to be willing to do the work. Get therapy, therapy, therapy. Find a licensed professional to help you work through
yeah.
all of your problems, all of your trials.
And it's fascinating, right? Because it's everything. I think, all right, I'm old now compared to you, but here's the deal. Everything in life, but you're saying the right things, dude, because the reality in life is it's always an inner game. For you to
Hmm.
project and create and live a life that you desire, it's got to start with you. You can't expect other people to deliver for you what your
Hmm.
expectation is. You have a choice, and you said it. It always comes down to the choice of who am I
Hmm.
choosing to be with. So now you've written this book, which is like a guidebook to say, look at it, be honest with your crap too, by the way,
Hmm.
because we go, oh,
Hmm.
I'm working on myself. So yeah, I'm a modern woman. No, you're not
Mm-mm,
yet, right?
mm-mm,
You really
mm-mm.
have to do that inner work. And if you don't want to do the inner work, then why would you think that someone else should show up to make it better for you? Their job is to make their life better, whatever, their inner game, right? And then if you could bring two really valuable is not the right word, but two
Lighten.
enlightened
Yep.
people together that have been doing the work and doing the grind. Now I think when you come together, you can work together on getting to the next level. You can be honest with each other to say, hey, Glenn, I've seen you work on XYZ. I know you're
Hmm.
struggling with this. We could strategize together. How can I support you? But now we're talking intelligently with each other
Hmm.
where we are because we understand the language behind it. Did that just make sense?
No, it made complete sense because it really is an acknowledgement of what we talk about in part two about how to do the work. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, part three isn't out yet. I'm not working on it for anyone in the chat that wants it. I'm not working on three yet. We're taking a little break from the third book, but we talk about it's really a playbook on how to do the work to get those great dating outcomes so you can transition from dating to long-term relationship.
Yeah.
But it does take the emotional intelligence, the grit, and the willingness to do the work to understand that you don't have all the answers and be willing to collaborate.
Yeah.
There was a stat on I have a show TMG Reacts we do once a week. It's probably a summer. It was talking about the price and the cost of renting. And I think you'll appreciate this. I don't know if you went through it. This generation does not, they don't have roommates. Or worse, they're perpetually with roommates until their 40s.
Mm.
So the people who don't have roommates don't have any skills. You have kids that are going to college and demanding individual rooms or apartments off campus. And the apartment owners and developers are trying to create more suite on suite experiences to let people have their own space. When I had roommates, I had 6 people to one apartment, 2 bathrooms, one kitchen. We had to figure it out. And as an only child, that was really difficult for me to do. Not to
Wow.
mention, that was my sophomore year. My freshman year, it was 4 to us to a room, 1 bathroom with
Oh,
2 sinks. And so the lesson I didn't learn that freshman year, I had to learn that sophomore year. It ain't about you. It ain't about your cleanliness. It ain't about what you want. You have to be willing to work with people where they are and meet them where they are and be okay with the result. So we had, going back to the article, and I think it was MSNBC, it basically stated we have men and women who are now looking for a relationship, early 30s. They've never been in a long-term relationship, only situationships. They've never lived with anyone. They have never had, and I'm not talking about the gender, opposite gender. I am saying they've never lived with a roommate. After they left their parents' house, they never had to have them. And so they pride themselves on being strong, independent men and women, but they don't know how to collaborate.
oh,
Meanwhile, and now they're broke. They're complaining that rent, a 2 bedroom apartment in Los Angeles, is $3,500 a month. We would have 4 people in that apartment. We'd have 2 beds in one room, 2 beds in the other. We wouldn't have cable. There was dial-up internet, but we probably have the internet, and then we would grind it out. This generation doesn't grind it out. And so then as you go into the opposite view, the ones who say, nope, I'm just going to go ahead and find my group of friends. I'm going to try to recreate Friends on NBC on Thursday nights. And then they do it until they're 40. And then they look up and one of the friends gets married, and so it blows up the entire structure, the structure that they built for this community or this
yeah,
family
yeah.
that is really supporting one another. And now they look up, oh, I got to find a new group or I got to find someone to get married. And it creates a whole downward slide that I believe we're seeing in some parts of the economy right now. So I think that was a long way of going around what you said um, about the importance of having the self-awareness to know how to live and work and collaborate with someone.
It was interesting. I remember we went looking at colleges because this is big business,
Mm-hmm.
these suites and stuff in these colleges, and you pay extra. It's not a dorm. They're just franchised almost through the universities. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember
Mm-hmm.
we went and they take you on the tour because of course they want you to upgrade. It's more money for the
Mm-hmm.
university. And we walked through, they had the gym and the kitchen and the thing, and you had your own bedroom, 4 individual bedrooms and your own bath and this whole, they were gorgeous. And I thought, can I freaking live here?
Yes.
Somebody
We
pay for
it
me.
was I remember when it happened because I graduated Florida A&M University, Tallahassee, Florida, and after freshman year, everyone was off campus. And you go to people's apartment, there was no parking. There was like 7 visitor spots for 800 apartment units, and so you got to find a way to park. And when you get there, everyone's in their room. No one's out in the communal spaces together. And I think that was
Crazy.
kind of the trend. That was the crazy transition that we saw. And then like to your point, the colleges got a hold of it and they said, we need to do that here and we'll just contract it out so we can get that revenue and then transfer it back. But
Yeah.
not,
Well, it's funny too, Glad, because we went through, we walk outside and my son says to me, oh, I'm definitely living in one of them. My response, I
mm,
said, sure you can. I said, we'll figure out the budget and anything over what the regular room and board is. Guess who's paying for that? So I guess you better start working 2 jobs.
mm-hmm.
And he's like, you know what? The dorm looks fine to me.
Dorm is fine. I don't mind sharing a bathroom with 16 other guys on the floor.
So it's how you present it. And I think sometimes
Mm-hmm.
the parents, we're too easy because we want them to have this great experience. It's nonsense. I lived in a dorm without air conditioning that was 100,000 years old and I survived.
Mm-hmm.
My kid could survive too. It's it's all
I
relative.
had to go in for the summer months. I had to in I was fortunate in Daytona to have a an AC and a heater wall unit. We didn't
Wow.
have the AC was out in Tallahassee, and so we just left the windows open. And I
Oh,
had a fan and stuff like that, but the AC would always go out. It was kind of an apartment style situation, but I mean, it teaches you grit. It teaches you grit. So
absolutely. Figure it out, man, right? We're out of time, but what would be your last words of wisdom to anybody? Obviously, buy the book, right? Which
by the
we're gonna
book.
right. The free gift that you're offering, I think, is chapter 2. You're gonna the link.
Chapter two,
Yeah.
everyone's favorite because it talks about boys to high value men. That
Yeah.
chapter two will be linked. It will be a PDF download, and thank you guys in advance for that.
Yeah. Any last words of wisdom for people who, because really, I mean, it is the new year when we're recording the show, but this is valuable
Hmm.
anytime. But what would be your biggest note or recommendation to anybody listening that they could do immediately? Start to,
Honestly, it's not popular. If you're having a bad relationship outcome, or even let's say professional outcome, take 6 months off social media.
mm,
Read 3 books. I'm sure Connie has 3 books that are a recommendation. 2 months, 2 months, 2 months,
yeah,
recap it, and then go back to social media and see if you like it. Now, that hurts, I think, your business and my business here. But at the same time, having better people who are not comparing themselves to what they see on social media,
yeah,
I believe leads to a better outcome.
yeah.
So if you're struggling in the area, take the 6 month fast from social media. Everyone who has done it over the last couple of years, they see exponential growth in the area in which they were looking for that growth. I've done it. My wife has done it. We've had friends that have done it, and they come back on for the holidays, and then they're back off after New Year, and they said, "We'll see you this summer."
Absolutely.
So I think that taking the time off social media and getting 3 good books in an area in which you want to grow will really see that exponential growth for you.
It's internal growth, Glenn. That's the
Hmm.
bottom line. So I love the idea of 3 books. And, you know, I can't tell you what book to read. I know what I would want to read for my own personal growth, but you have to figure that out. And I think taking that time for self, people feel it's selfish. It's not, it's selfless.
Mm-mm.
When we become better, you create a better life. We have kids who are able to cope. I mean, the ripple effect of becoming whole of self is
Hmm.
will impact your business. Will impact your career, your business, whatever it is,
Yep,
right? Because this is a business podcast, but it starts with relationships and really
it does.
relationship with yourself. I think that's really the message here. So I love it. Really quick, my cousin, he's ex-military. So every big birthday, he likes to do, he has a business, live a life of adventure, owns
Hmm.
a gym where they get, you know, if you're training to, you know, climb Mount Everest, he's that kind of trainer. It's not just a regular gym. Anyway, he did for his 40th birthday, he went off grid for 2 weeks. Literally the only clothes on their back, and they did give him purification for the water. Other than that, they had to create tools, they had to catch, they had to fish, they had to sleep on the, you know, gather the leaves to sleep, all of these things. So when he came
Mm.
back, I'm thinking I would have lasted 5 minutes. A mosquito would bite me. I'm like, can you heliport me out of here? So he did the 2 weeks, and I said to him, how was it? He said, it wasn't challenging. That blew my mind. But he's a tough guy, right? He jumped out of
Hmm.
airplanes, the whole thing in the military.
Hmm.
So I'm like, all right, so you're cool, right? That you could, you know, sleep outside and forage food and all of this other stuff. Do you know what the hardest thing was? It's exactly what you
What?
just said, Glenn. Coming back, the amount of noise, social media, pings on the phone.
Mm.
He turned everything off, deleted a bunch of things that he chose to follow. He said, it's all noise in my life. Literally, he said, coming back to civilization. He loves his comforter and he loves his bed. He said, but coming back to civilization and the noise, not the family and the kids, but the noise was, he said, it was debilitating. Took him, about a month for him to kind of organize himself to come back into civilization. So what you're saying is that cold turkey away from social media, it's only going to let you see things with more clarity afterwards to
Hmm.
say, why was I following that? I don't need that. Let me shut these pings off. And again, it's more about self-reflection than external stimulation. So you're 100,
Hmm.
you're onto it, man. You're onto, we need book 3, dude. Come on.
We'll see. We'll see what God has in store
No,
this
I
year.
know, I know. I'm teasing you, right? No pressure. Connie's putting pressure on me. Guys, here's the deal. Please, please. If you have any other questions, and oh, by the way, he's a business coach too. So if you like his vibe, at the core of everything, I think Glenn and I, but our business runs from, it's all about the relationship. So really, really, a lot of the lessons he teaches in the book are things he learned in business as well as in his personal life. So we can, again, transferable skills. You're one person, the human at home, and one person at work. A lot of transferable skills. Go to his website, glennsandifer.com. I will put it in the show notes. Email him if you have a question specific to business or personal. Email him at info@glennsandifer.com. We also recorded another podcast about business stuff, sales stuff, which I'll include in the show notes. And you're also going to share the link to chapter 2 for everybody to read, to get a vibe of the book. I highly recommend buying the book, guys. It's, I think, not only for yourself, but what do we need to teach our children to create happy relationships? There's a big ripple effect. It's not just about me or you, right? The individual. It's about what we're leaving behind. And this book could be the roadmap of what you're looking for. Anything else you want to say, my friend, before we sign out? This was a fun episode, by the way, dude.
I had a blast. I hope that the audience really enjoyed it and took it to heart. And I thank you again, Connie, for the opportunity just to connect and share the story. So thank you again. Thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. And you're brilliant. I think
Thank you.
the way you approach life and business, it's life and business. We're one and the same. And I think that connectivity, we look at ourselves as separate entities. And I just don't think that's a healthy way to approach life and or business. So I love your, I love your vibe. Thank you again, my friend, for being on. All right. Everybody reach out to him, buy the book, report back on how it has impacted your relationships.
Yes.
We want to hear, man. We want to hear. Thank you again. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover, no matter where you are in change in life, career, relationships, right? What we talked about today. We really hope, my guests and I hope, that take the information, put it into practice, do something. Here's the first one. Here's your call to action, everybody. Download the chapter, read the chapter, see where it fits in, where it resonates with you, or where it makes you think, uh-oh, I might be in trouble. No matter where you are on that spectrum, it's a starting point for you to create the change that you're looking for. Again, information's a beautiful thing. If you do nothing with it, man, it's information sitting in your brain. As soon as we put it into play, our lives truly change for the better. So thank you for tuning in to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.com. I am honored that you join me and my guests weekly as we hopefully inspire you to take action, to just become a better version of yourself. We're not perfect and we'll never be perfect, but it is about changing perspective, growing, and challenging our comfort zone. I love you all. I'll see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.